modules better para tuloy-tuloy tayo. Also, yung mga PowerPoints natin, modules, again, available yan sa Google Drive. Even yung PowerPoint uploaded na in case you will study in advance. So let's start. Two remaining modules pa tayo for the midterm. Ang first module is yung obstacle limitation, surfaces, or restriction. Yung another remaining module will be the or regarding about markings sa Aerodrome. And I hope na if better, matapos sana natin for today. So it's around 30 slides each, a total of 60 slides. However, marami naman ditong mga pictures lang or representation, and hopefully mapapabilis tayo with that. So let's start. I'll pull out my PowerPoint. Hold on. And by the way, just in case mawala ako from time to time, like a minute or two, please bear with me. Medyo may problems ako with the connection since yesterday or with the ISP. So bear with me na lang if we'll have some hassle on your end getting the PowerPoint. Hold on. There we go. So module number 2 for midterm will be all about obstacle, restriction, and limitation. That is the title of the module. However, yung technical term dyan, when you look it into the actual operation and with the law, it's the obstacle limitation surfaces or OLS. So that will be our main topic for this module. Moving forward, so we got here the general or the contents of the module. Will be starting off with the introduction, some few terms, a few terminologies to get with. We'll have pictures or sample of aerodrome obstacle chart. We got obstacle or the obstacle limitation surface, the OLS itself, and the parts of the OLS. And lastly is yung principles of shielding. That will be the last part for today or for today's module. So introduction regarding limitation and restriction of an airspace, an airport. So the general objectives of this chapter and of course this module is to maintain yung obstacles natin permitted doon sa aircraft operation on the airport for them or for us to conduct safely and to prevent any hazard or safety risk of an usable growth of or uncontrolled buildings or obstacle sa ating airport area. Yung mga objects na to are penetrate doon or will be penetrating on the OLS will be contained on this chapter and will be reviewing the OLS itself and the procedures under the law. Moving forward, we got here an italic part. Non-compliance with the standard may result in CAAP issuing hazard notification as prescribed in the car aerodrome. So si CAAP kasi magpa-function na yung authority niya. So di ba sa isang airport meron tayong airspace. Yung airspace, that's the authority of the CAAP doon sa mga aircraft. So that's the airspace. May authority siya doon sa nakapaloob na aircraft doon sa airspace niya and of course sa airspace ng country. Yung OLS naman po, yung papasok dito is magkakaroon ng authority si CAAP doon sa mga structures, obstacles, building, even yung mga natural surfaces na papasok sa OLS. Yun naman ang control ni CAAP. with the airport. So ang airspace, control niya yung aircraft. Dito sa OLS, more on sa mga hazard buildings and obstacle. Moving forward, some few points for obstacle restriction. Objects except for approved visual and navigational aids must not be located within the CAAP restriction area of the airport or the aerodrome without the approval of CAAP. So, mostly ang na-approve lang na papasok doon sa OLS na structure is either yung visual or navigational aids. But of course, may mga exception yan. Later, we'll be discussing some of the exception. Also, they require or it's a practice that yung papasok na navigation device or instrument or tools will be frangible in design and for it to reduce hazard of the aircraft in as much as minimum. So I have here a famous video. You could rewatch or you could watch this on your free time or if mag-review kayo on the subject. It's I think a 3-minute video. It's the landing on Bhutan. It's one of the most famous airport and isa sa mga pinakamahirap na uh, airport na iland in the whole world. Um, it is a great video for our subject or for this module kasi makikita natin dito kung gaano kahirap obstacle na dinadaanan ng aircraft dito sa specific airport na to. And yung mga gantong scenario, we'll be reviewing the law, hindi na control ni airport or wala na siyang magagawa doon sa mga obstacle na nandito since these are natural and permanent obstacle as you could see. And if nakita nyo na to, one of the social media or na-browse yun na, nakita nyo na sa YouTube. Medyo or sikat tong Bhutan Airport. Lumalaki. So lumalaki yung sakop ng airspace as it goes or pag tumataas yung altitude natin. So parang isipin nyo lang yung mga wedding cake. So baliktarin nyo yun, ipatong nyo sa airport. That's how airspace is made. But of course with restriction and with guidelines by the law. And same with the OLS, mandating yung mga objects natin sa surface, meron din tayong sort of na ganon. And yun yung OLS. We'll have some pictures for it and a few slides. But however, ito yung mga parts niya. I'll also be discussing yung mga parts later on. So sa non-instrument and non-precision runway, ito yung required na parts niya. So that's A, B, C, D, and E. I'll be discussing later yung mga parts together with the presentation para mas madali. Pagka nagkaroon naman tayo or naka-establish tayo ng precision runway, madadagdagan tayo ng 3 additional parts in addition. And pag Cat 2 or Cat 3, Category 2 and Category 3, ito na po yung parts na kailangan. So, mas dumami na or mas kompleto na. Maybe you're questioning now on your mind, sir, anong pagkakaiba ng non-precision sa precision and non-instrument? Of course, pag non-instrument, from the word itself, wala tayong instrument tool doon sa airport to help the pilot land and take off. Pagka non-precision po, meron tayong vertical guidance. Pagka precision naman po, meron tayong lateral and vertical guidance. That's precision Cat 1. Sir, ano naman po, pagkakaiba ng Precision Cat 1 sa Precision Category 2 and 3. Sa Precision Cat 1, meron tayong vertical and lateral guidance, as I mentioned. However, ang ginagamit natin dito is altimeter. So, hindi siya ganun ka-accurate since the altimeter only rely sa ating air pressure or dun sa static pressure. In regard naman sa mga airport na may Cat 2 and Cat 3, meron na po tayong radio the aircraft. Po lahat ng airport ay, Cat 2 and Cat 3. Usually sa mga city airport to and sa mga first world country. So there we go. We categorize it as non-instrument, non-precision. We got precision Cat 1 and precision Cat 2 and 3. And here are the parts. Ito yung sinasabi ko na OLS. I got also a video link here just in case na you still or hindi pa rin masyadong magets on how it works, but ganito po siya. So, same as the airspace, para siyang reverse na cake. So, as you move forward, lumalaki siya. We got the 4 parts here na makikita nyo. We got the outer horizontal, yung conical yung inner horizontal, and yung transitional surface natin connecting yung inner horizontal through the runway itself. So it's a reverse cake moving upward hanggang tumataas yung altitude natin. Magkaroon ng control si authority or the law or the CAAP, the local authority, doon sa mga structures natin. So if we have buildings or may magpaplano magtayo ng building and lalagpas siya regulation. So depende yon kay ka-operator will move forward. See, mas lumalayo sa airport, mas tumataas yung space ng mga building. However, the more na lumapit tayo, mas bumababa siya papunta sa runway itself, providing more safety margin through the runway and the airport operation. On the next slide, this is the actual numbers of the OLS surface, kung paano siya measure. So preset na siya. You could check it on the CAAP manual Aerodrome. Even sa ICAO nandun to. So ayan, self-explanatory naman. Ito yung mga parts natin ng surface. At ito yung height, distance, slope, etc. And depending sa type ng runway or runway classification. Also in the next slide, ayan, yung parts natin and the designated numbers. Self-explanatory naman yung table. So magagamit nito, especially if you will be assigned sa mga bagong airport, construction, or if change tayo ng category ng airport. Of course, if you change, kunyari, the airport is non-instrument, say, there we go. Next stop is procedures for aerodrome operators to deal with obstacle. So ito na yung actual process natin dealing with this or with the following obstacle. So we got the guidelines here. So kinuha ko lang siya on the references. Of course, with this copy paste ang method natin, putting it on the PowerPoint since magbabago yung meaning if we replace this. So the aerodrome operator must monitor the OLS applicable to the aerodrome and report to CAAP any infringement or potential infringement. So it's the responsibility of the operator to monitor yung OLS and yung mga obstacle around it. When a new obstacle is detected, the aerodrome operator must ensure the information is passed to the pilots through NOTAM. So NOTAM yung pinakamabilis nating papers to be processed, ma-inform lahat ng piloto or airline operating in the area. Information on new or any new include, so ito yung mga information siya, kung siya ba ay phone line, so kung ano yung structure, kung building ba siya or electrical line, dito papasok yung nature ng obstacle, distance and bearing of the obstacle. So of course, yung sukat niya or layo niya on the airport and yung height and bearing. So we got distance, bearing, and the height. Wait, let me have my pointer. I don't think you could see my pointer. There we go. We got the nature of the obstacle, the distance, the bearing, and the object outside the OLS. So pagka outside the OLS, of course, mawawalan na ng authority si CAAP since yung pasok lang sa OLS tayo, may authority. However, it's under the law that kahit nasa labas na siya ng OLS, as long as it will extend to a height of 110 meters or more above the local ground level, the building owner should still, and the operator, the aerodrome operator should still notify the CAAP. And any object that extends to a height of 150 meters or more above local ground level must be regarded an obstacle. So kahit na wala siya doon sa OLS or sa designated OLS, as long as it will be above 150 meters, it should be recorded as an obstacle under CAP. Monitoring of obstacle associated with instruments to monitor the OLS and decrease object that could become obstacle. So of course, unang-una, if the proposed or structure is determined to be an obstacle or papasok nun sa OLS, it should be referred on notified sa CAAP and it will be a hazard to aircraft operation. Shielded obstacle. So ito yung isang way. Later we have a few slides pertaining to this. So we got two ways to um, have an obstacle inside the OLS um, approve agad or ma-approve ng CAAP kahit nasa loob siya ng OLS. That's the two way. Yung second is yung or through aeronautical study. I think napag-aralan na natin yung ng prelim. So that are the two ways para ma-approve yung object or yung building mo sa loob ng OLS. Force CAAP may direct the obstacle be marked or lit and may impose operational restriction on the aerodrome as the result of an obstacle. We got several guidelines here, temporary obstacle. should also be referred to CAAP, especially yung most of the airport natin in the city, malapit din siya sa proximity ng mga port natin. So yung mga larger ship that could become an obstacle, papasok sa OLS should also be notified sa CAAP. It's also yung mga oversized road vehicle and railways. Fences and leaf banks could also penetrate and OLS and must be treated as an obstacle. So it's upon the discretion of the CAAP or the local authority regarding the hazardous object. It can be removed or it could be marked or to provide additional lighting. Moving forward, there we go. Um, as mentioned kanina, the obstacle should be processed or recorded by the aerodrome operator, even or kahit yung operator natin is the government itself, it should still be recorded and processed sa aerodrome manual. And we could uh, represent it through charts sa ating manual for better understanding. So hindi lang basta isusulat natin yung mga obstacle, ito yung bearing niya, ito yung distance, ito yung nature niya, ito yung height. But we also provide visual representation para madali ma-absorb ng gagamit or titingin yung obstacle. But I think nowadays, electronic na. So they could provide map, my 3D representation. However, of course, we still need to have a black and white copy under the Aerodrome manual. So we got two types, type A and type B chart. The main difference lang naman dito is that the type A, there we go, um, mas detailed siya within 10 kilometer sa aerodrome area or from the aerodrome reference point. And it is required for any runway or airport use in international operation. So, kailangan lagi may type A chart tayo, detailed up to 10 km. And yung isa naman is the rest, for general airports and runway, we uses the type B chart. Provides obstacle data around the aerodrome in accordance to the local authority under CAR ANS Part 4. Type A and Type B chart. So yun lang ang main difference. Type A is for international within 10 km and Type B is the more generalized type. For the chart itself, I have tried to find an example for it within the country, pero hindi ako nakahanap. However, nakahanap ako ng lumang obstacle chart. This is from Pennsylvania, Middletown Airport. Here you could see, hold on, someone is entering the class. So, you could see here yung airport area. You could see the elevation, 310 feet above the ground. So hindi siya around the sea. And we got ranges beside the city. Ito, I think this is a city. We got the runway here, as you could see, very large enough. The straight line, the runway. And you could see yung mga obstacle mark. So medyo malabo, sorry. But I got the link here. You could zoom through the link clearly. However, it's just a presentation of how the obstacle chart is made. So there mark yung mga obstacle natin. And the good thing about this is that hindi lang siya mark as 2D view. May iba siyang view wherein you could, there, I got the zoom copy. So again, this is the runway and the obstacles are marked regarding their height. And ito yung isang view where you could see yung runway itself and you could see yung mga obstacle kanina sa map. So this is the runway. So yan, this is a different view. Pero naka-orthographic siya dito sa still on the top view. So this is the view and obstacle kanina na naka-mark. Could see yung height niya from the runway level and designated markings ng mga height ng obstacle. And you could also see yung mga approach where you could clearly identify kung anong mga obstacle ang magiging hazard upon operating on the area. So this is the common goal or objective of a obstacle obstruction or obstacle chart. However nga, nowadays the current trend, ano na tayo, electronic na. So just send it through the iPad. You could look and zoom it out clearly. Okay, moving forward, we have discussed yung obstacle limitation surfaces, but diniscuss lang natin kanina kung ano yung mga parts na will be included throughout the airport category, depending on the category. We'll move forward now to the we'll move forward now sa mga parts kanina. We'll be discussing and we'll provide a clear presentation per parts ng mga obstacle or parts ng OLS. The OLS itself starts with a reference point. And previously, meron tayong tinatawag na Aerodrome reference point provided na per airport. However, with regards sa obstacle limitation surface or OLS, yung ating obstacle has its own reference and we call that the reference elevation datum. Possibly siya na iparehas sa ARP or Aerodrome reference point to be rounded off on the next half meter provided na yung elevation ng ARP is the same average nung elevation ng mga runway or available runway on the airport. However, if hindi, we will have to provide RED or reference elevation datum different from the ARP. And from the reference elevation datum, dun magsisimula yung ating OLS paakyat. So unang-una, part ng OLS that we'll be discussing is yung transitional area. So yun yung nakadikit upwards with the slope from the runway going sa inner horizontal. Yung transitional surface comprises of an inclined plane since it follows the route of the runway, originating on its lower edge and going and finishing on the upper edge located in the inner horizontal surface. So ito yon, yung orange thing that you could see here. Next part is yung inner horizontal. So ito yung unang palapad na surface ng OLS. It's the horizontal plane. So may specific height given from the reference elevation datum extending doon sa or connecting sa ating conical surface. Conical surface comprised of straight and will be the outer horizontal surface here you could see yung napag-aralan natin on the previous slide. Still, we got the transitional here and the conical surface together with the inner horizontal. So ito yun yung tatlo out of the four on the previous slide. Magdadagdag tayo ng dalawa, which is the approach surface and the takeoff climb surface. So from the words itself, self-explanatory naman, the uh, first surface takeoff is used for the takeoff and the approach is of course used for landing. And you could see na mas mababa ang slope lagi ng approach in terms of landing. And standard yan even on the actual operation of the aircraft. Mababa ang glide slope ng approach compared sa slope ng takeoff climb. So palaging yung mababa yung approach and mataas si takeoff climb from the edge of the runway we have. And the takeoff and the approach surface, dinidivide pa yan into much smaller part. We got the inner approach and the sorry, the approach surface and the transitional surface pala. Yung dinidivide pa sa into smaller part. We got the inner approach surface. So it's the rectangular portion ng approach surface na nakadikit mismo with the preceding threshold. And yung inner transitional naman, of course, similar to transitional but yung closer part doon sa runway. Sa pagsukat po kasi may iba pang guidelines with the inner approach and inner transitional surface. So we got here the 3D view and we got here the top view of the surface. And lastly, another or the last part, I think, um, will be the bulk landing surface. So it's an inclined plane originating on the specific distance after the threshold, extending doon sa inner transitional surface. Maybe you're asking, sir, bakit may dinagdag pang isang surface? Meron naman na tayong surface for the approach and surface for the takeoff. This additional surface or the bulk landing, it is the surface provided if you will have to perform a go around. So of course, if or any the actual or the landing feelings due to any circumstance, you round out and flare, momentum ka nun, may speed, may energy ka, you could immediately from